Greetings! Let me see those hands again! Hang on now! Hey, everybody jump!
You're tuned to Off the Ball, the most petty and ill-informed sports programme on radio. The week in Scottish football. Park Life. What does Green Ink mean to you? And one word, the word is piercings. I'm Stuart Cosgrove, he's Tam Cowan, and you're tuned to the odd couple of Scottish football. Yes. We've had many a good year presenting this show together, but one question that I have never asked you in all of that time: who is your Diddy team, Celtic or Rangers?
No, well, again, first up, I think we could take great credit because both in 1967 when Celtic won the European Cup, and of course when Rangers enjoyed European glory in 1972, I think it's about time we took the credit for that.
Absolutely.
Because when it all goes belly up, of course, we invariably get the blame, the poor standard of Scottish football. So yeah, I think 67 and 72 was basically huge thank you there to Motherwell, St Johnstone, St Mirren.
Aye, they did all the
others. Dundee. Aye, yeah. No, it was you know me. I'll always watch all the European games, Stuart, but two absolute poundings
with a slight darkness in your
the
heart.
Two of them. Oh no, you reserve the right. We've said this many a time in the show. We've had enough pummelings. I personally have witnessed so many hammerings at the hands of Rangers and Celtic, and there's nobody in Scottish football that can touch them, and have been able to touch them for 40 years now.
Yeah.
Like 40 seasons, let's be brutally honest. Nobody has come close. So aye, football's all about rivalry, so of course you're allowed to enjoy a wee smirk when you see results like that. But and we'll even allow the coefficient to go for a wee while. But Hearts did us proud in that front anyhow, with a late winner against Dynamo Minsk. But no, it's, you know what, the thing is as well, I mean, I'm reading the other day, you know, Philip Comonti saying, he insists that the Leon lesson will just make Rangers stronger and hungrier. I don't actually hear a lot of Rangers fans saying that. They're a wee bit in panic mode now. They're also, which is a good thing, we always think self-policing is a good thing in Scottish football. I found it kind of refreshing, the amount of Rangers fans that have hit out at the Union Bear Boys. Now we have always backed any wee sort of ultra groups who, we're not going to be two-faced about it in this show. We have
progressive fans experience.
Exactly, because we've always thought without a lot of these guys at any club, Celtic, Rangers, Motherwell, St Johnstone, right down through the leagues,
the atmosphere dips.
Exactly. But there comes a point you just think, how can you be so stupid? Now, fireworks inside the stadium. I mean, not only is it bloody dangerous, not only were they flying over their own goalkeeper's head, but it's just crazy. And there's no way UEFA, they just took so long to get that stand open, and everybody was doing the jokes about it, and Chinese steel and all the rest of it in the view. They get it finally open, and then there's every likelihood that it could be closed again. It's just absolutely crazy. And the Celtic fans, you know, I don't think they're too enamoured by the fact that, you know, Brendan Rodgers, all the back pages of the papers today, that you know, I'm not going to change my style for anyone. As a few folk have pointed out to me, the $3 million plus salary, it's not a bad wage for just being able to hammer teams in Scotland and then take these absolute houndings in Europe.
Pounding. I mean,
3 times now he's lost 7 goals.
Hey, trust me, Celtic fans went into that game believing that it was going to be the game that turned everything.
Oh, absolutely.
They went away away thinking, I fancy an away win here.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, I know some of my dear
All on the back of beating St Johnstone.
Yeah, some of my dear esteemed Daily Record colleagues, all the boys, the day of European games, you always get their big match predictions. And you're right, all the guys, it was all maybe a draw, maybe a narrow defeat for Celtic, you know. But, you know, absolutely pumped. And again, give us your thoughts, Celtic and Rangers fans. And what I love is the rivalry is such. The debate has moved on between the Celtic and Rangers fans, are obviously obsessed with each other.
Yeah.
Talking about who got humped the least. that seems to be the debate now.
Yeah,
you know?
the mood music's changed around Philippe Clement, though, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, I, as a Rangers fan, I if I was Philippe Clement, the 8 o'clock.
Did you just say as a Rangers fan?
If I was a Rangers
Oh,
fan,
sorry, I missed
or
that.
put myself in Philippe Clement's shoes, minus the Ministry of Silly Walks bit that he can do in those.
Yeah.
An absolute free hit. I know we're going to come on to Simo Valakari later, but and he's not going to be in the dugout officially, you were telling me, because of the work permit. But that is not the sort of game you want to come up. That's get just I don't know, it's Sunday night, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, playing
Subway's already closed.
You know,
yeah.
and again,
place will be half empty.
And again, what I really fear, if I was Philippe Clement, of course, is that anything other than the 3 points on Sunday, and then you've got this other gap in the calendar because of the
international break,
games again, you know. So it's a strange old time for Celtic and Rangers. But again, what will happen is it happens every year, Stuart. They'll get the European stuff out the way. I know it's harder and harder now not to get through to the next round in Europe.
Aye.
But they'll get all that out the way. There'll be plenty of angst, plenty of anger about it. And then the minute it tips into the new year, it simply becomes the domestic battle between the two. And that's why we are looking for, let's be brutally honest here, as fans of the wee Diddy Club, as neutrals when it comes to all things Old Firm, you are looking for, in terms of freshness, Aberdeen to really keep this going. But you can just as easy see, doesn't matter what Hearts, how bad they've been in the league this year. You wonder, even that wee late winner in Europe, is that giving, you know, Hearts, is that galvanised
Giving them a wee bit of belief. I was on
and
some...
can they just trip Aberdeen up then? I think it's a huge test. You know what? I think it's the biggest. I don't want to go down the road here to get into the Tom English debate. I think he was chastised unfairly in that. But I think this is, particularly in the back of Hearts' European result, more even so than performance, I think this is a real big test for Aberdeen. And you imagine if you're a dandy Don, right? The stadium is sold out on tomorrow, right? So you're already buoyed by that. If you could go into, I mean, the bookies would have laughed at you about this at the start of the season. If Aberdeen could get into this second international break of the new season, if they could come back mid-October with a 100% record at the top of that league.
Tam, one of the things that does is it narrows the top six, because I think if that was to unfold, Aberdeen are home and hosed for top six. Can you see how they would drop?
Yeah, and and let's be honest, you know, Aberdeen have skirted with relegation in the recent past. You know, they've been doing that end of the league as well. And it's getting to the stage, it sounds daft, but almost arithmetically impossible for Aberdeen to get relegated. At what point will that come? But no, they've done brilliantly. And just to read the Pataudry again, absolutely sold out. It's brilliant. And again, the one thing that I will say to fair play to Borussia Dortmund and indeed all the other teams that have taken 7 off of Celtic. Celtic's worst defeat, as their club historians will know, was still at the hands of the mighty Well.
Yes.
8-0 in 1937. So our record...
Well done, Tam. Congratulations.
Which I think means that we are a better team than Celtic then.
Indeed. Yeah. Can we just talk for a moment about financial chasms. Let's start with off the ball and sports scene.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. How can we even cobble together a show when you see the money that is thrown at the David Currys and Stephen Thompsons of this world? You know how we managed to do it's incredible. No, again, that came out, and I even know one of the wee. There was an online thing that was written by my dear friend Gavin Berry that get picked up on this week using that word chasm.
Yeah.
This financial chasm between Borussia Dortmund and Celtic. And again, folk were very, very quick to do the arithmetic in this. The financial whiz kids were all over it. So apparently Dortmund 2.9 times the finance of Celtic, the wealth of Celtic, who in turn have got 24.4 times the wealth of St Johnstone.
Yeah.
So there's a proper chasm, and I think quite rightly, you know, we laugh and joke about it. We know it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but you almost feel now that every build up to every domestic game involving
needs
Rangers
to
and Celtic.
contain this
We
debate.
need to contain that. So let's see that for the build up like tomorrow. Rangers against Celtic at 8 o'clock. Ross County, Rangers against St Johnstone at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Ross County against Celtic at noon tomorrow. Let's see the chasm word mentioned in every single build up report. That would be quite refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you did mention them because St Johnstone have a new manager.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very. You know what I said to you earlier, and I wasn't dissing St Johnstone, but that's in terms of your standing in Scottish football. But what I said to you in the canteen this morning, you agreed with me. If Hearts, who have been tipped to bring in a foreign manager, if Hearts had moved for Simo Valakari, I would also have thought, wow, that's a really good
booking,
move, you know.
Yeah.
So I my gut reaction is, and honestly, I swear, I'm not saying this in the back of Simo Valakari being an ex-Motherwell man. At Motherwell, help me out, Motherwell fans, I just thought him as being a really tidy player who was a big hit with the fans. I can't remember anything particularly amazing other than he was a bit of a stalwart for a few seasons, 100% guy, all the other cliches. But the coaching that he's done since, there just seems to be, I don't know, it just seems to be something about him.
He was 10 yards away from George O'Boyle when George O'Boyle lobbed Stevie Woods for the halfway line.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think it's quite an exciting move.
Yeah.
I think he does look like everybody's maybe Auntie Jean.
Yeah.
I saw him with his wavy hair and his 2 earrings in. We'll come back to the piercings later. But no, I think it's an exciting
and you know
move
the
for St
interesting
Johnstone.
thing about it is we're always got half an eye on where might he find a couple of players for us. He knows where the weaknesses are. In fact, the dogs in the street know where the weaknesses are at St Johnstone. And I think that he's in a situation where he knows the Latvian league, the Finnish league, the Lithuanian league. So he'll find us somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's
one thing that he kind of hinted at, and never got really picked up on much, is that there are players in those parts of Northern Europe who are willing to buy out their own contract so they become effectively non-registered players, so they can make the move before the window opens.
And I'm sure, your media guys at the club could put together the digital version of the glossy brochure of what Perthshire has to offer. You know,
much.
That would lure them in right away. So, no, I think it's a very exciting move. Are there any, dissenting voice? I always like that because this seems too nice. An appointment by St Johnstone.
Our producer's an utter cynic.
Right, great. What's this
utter
thought?
cynic. Oh, wait until we've played 3 games, then you'll know be smart. And I can take that point, but the whole point about it was a window of possibilities and a window of fresh air has opened up at the club. And I think in lots of ways it's one of the great kind of moments where I was out last night in Perth and lots of St Johnstone fans at the venue I was at. Not one of them was negative about this.
Aye,
The
there you
buzz
go.
in the room.
But
was great.
again, it wouldn't be off the ball if we didn't take a bit of negativity. So if anybody can point out any, Simo Valacari's move to St Johnstone, give us a shout. No such good news, of course. Inverness, Caledonian Thistle, all sorts of financial stuff going on there. And Duncan Ferguson, of course, fair play to Duncan Ferguson. He is refusing to take a penny in wages while the club is trying to stave off administration. They need something like, is it 200,000? Well, I think they probably needed it yesterday. To be fair, that's going on there as
the
well.
administrator, a well-known guy to you, has come into the club, and you never know whether that 200,000 is accurate.
I know.
Or actually a huge
Well,
underestimation.
at least they've got the good guy in place, and I say that for experience in Brian Jackson. I kid you not, I did forward his name a few years ago when we were having a meeting at Motherwell about the next Hall of Fame event. And I says, let's get Brian in there. You know, if we'd have gone to, a less successful chap than him, and
you
his
might have been
chosen field.
liquidated.
Exactly.
What's the difference between the two?
I have no idea. This is Scottish football we're talking about. No idea. I'm sure the Celtic fans who are tuned in will be quick to tell us. But yeah, it's Inverness, Caledonian Thistle. You can give us your take on that
my
story.
take on it is, I know this sounds like I'm being cruel and a bit of a Grinch. I'll not be contributing to it. To the crowdfunder, for the very simple reason that I think at the heart of every single administration, whether that's when Rangers initially went into administration, whether it was Motherwell, whether it was Dundee,
we led the way.
Yeah,
we were groundbreakers.
You were, but the thing about it is, it all stems from your outgoings exceeding your income.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely
and
right.
That usually means players' wages, because that's the fundamental part. Brian Jackson will be looking at what the salaries were for the players,
and he'll be shaking his head
and going,
I know.
Go.
Right, well, let's hear from Inverness.
I don't think that should be rewarded, personally.
Right, okay. Let's hear for the Inverness fans. We'd also like to hear for any of the Tartan Army. We've not said that for a while after the disappointment of the summer and then Portugal, Poland, etc. But a wee story there that I think everybody's got an opinion on. Craig Gordon is back, astonishingly, in the Scotland squad. He did say that he wasn't finished yet, but everybody assumed that he was when he got to take the bow, the Finland game, I think it was. 75 caps, but he's been drafted back in. Stevie Clark says that he needs 3 goalkeepers. Might give Celtic Rangers an idea next European games. That's something worth thinking about. But yeah, so...
Do you think that UEFA or FIFA are handing out disability allowances?
Well, I know personally, Craig Gordon, one of my, for a guy who's never pulled on a Motherwell jersey, one of my all-time favourite goalkeepers. I think he's absolutely brilliant. He was tremendous with Scotland, but I think there does come a point, you think, the 75 caps, it seemed like a nice round figure. It was a lovely way to bow out. He got the deserved ovation from the fans. I'm not so sure we should have been looking back the way, particularly at a time when, dare I say it, and if I did put the claret and amber specs on, that Lennon Miller, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say
it. In goal?
No, why not? But you know what? I'm sorry, but if Lennon Miller was at Celtic or Rangers now, he would have been in that squad. I know he's in the under-21s and he's a pivotal part of that, but there's no doubt in my mind that he's pulling on the wrong colour of jersey just now. I do genuinely believe.
I agree with that.
For what he's achieved already. And
I agree with that, Sam, with one big exception. We needed to get something out the under-21 games.
I know that.
And better putting in your top players.
Yeah, no, I know that. That's only, but I'm willing to concede there. That's how I've mentioned it. But I just think what a boost it would have given that guy himself. We keep talking about there's all that, that I'm sure neither of us, even you, Stuart, hasn't waded through that latest white paper that came out at the start of the season. But in terms of the chat about what little chance it would appear that younger players are getting in Scotland, even it would kind of tie in with that to suddenly say, oh, but there's Lennon Miller.
He's gone
into the full squad and all that.
Especially when you can point to the Napoli players and the Italian group.
And then again, we've been utterly selfish. We're ultimately looking at the price tag on Lennon Miller's head. When he keeps progressing at the rate he's going, it's going to be pretty tasty, and that would have helped as well. But I just stand by it. I think that for everything that he's done, if he'd been in that Celtic or Rangers team, I do think he'd have been in the senior squad.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, Tam, we've got a couple of guests on today's show. New guests to us in the sense that they've never been on the show before. Liz Corbett. Now, this is interesting. A woman who's a volunteer for the Park Run movement.
Yep, 20th anniversary, and I'm sure I only, in my ignorance, as you'd expect, when anything involving running, when I come into the BBC, certainly every Saturday morning, I do see in my local park as I drive by real big posses of people running around the park, and this is all part of this park run. Folk try to keep themselves fit, etc. It's the 20th anniversary of it. We'll allow Liz to explain it. Liz is still very much an active member of the park run setup, and what we've taken out of that, apart from getting Liz to tell us all about it and encourage folk maybe to take part, park life.
Yes,
we're talking about that, park life. So we want folk, but the older listeners maybe to cast their mind back, the younger listeners to think where it would be just now. But Stuart, when you were growing up in Perth, what was the park that you and your mates,
you know what,
of activity?
It was the old one. It's an old adage, which is, why is Perth the smallest city in the world?
Oh, this is something to do with the metric unit, the inch.
Sits between 2 inches.
Actually,
the north
is inch a metric unit?
No,
metric would be centimetres and metres.
Imperial, yeah. So Lord Inch or somebody Inch donated the parks to the people of Perth, and so they're reserved.
Was Lord Inch's name or a nickname with boys in the five-a-side team?
I think he was, yeah. And North and South Inch have been almost a protected species in Perth because they're public parks,
right?
And I think the founding principles is they can't be sold for private purpose,
right?
So
what in your past? What you say there?
For me, the South
fires,
the South
good
Inch
rope swing.
No, we're talking a boating lake.
Oh, posh, right? There we go.
And a guy who is alas passed away now, but I think his relatives are still in Perth. The legend called Davy Gannon, the Admiral of the South Inch.
All right.
And his job was to call the boats in. Come in, number 3.
Right. There we go. Puts that one about come in number 66, your time's up. Then a few minutes later, come in number 99, you're drowning. But aye, Strathclyde Park will resonate with me in terms of, I'll start with music, because you know that even though it was in the Strathclyde Park, it was the closest I have come, because it was the Strathclyde Park, to going to a pop music festival.
Wow.
Because, of course, Tea in the Park started in the Strathclyde Park. So a wee bit of rosy glow about it taking place just down the road for you. But I still couldn't bring myself to go to it. It was the Strathclyde Park, which many moons ago now, clearly I'll attribute when I lost a power of weight, and that was through walking around the park every day of my life for 6 months, and I lost a stone a month, and I nod to the park. And then a memory that I'll never take away from the park, but on a sadder note, every time I see, the big, the kind of the water sports part, Stuart, which featured in the Commonwealth Games and stuff, the rowing and the yachting and all. It was at a wee charity day down there. Oh, it must be, what is it now? Is it 15 years ago?
Yeah.
And absolute buzz bomb as he was in his Motherwell jersey, as I always remember him. He was there to help out with the charity thing as well, Paul McGrillen.
Yeah.
And then I get the awful call like a day later that he had taken his own life. And it's funny, whenever I see that set up in that bit of the Strathclyde Park, a lot of folk for that area know exactly what I mean. It just puts a flash in my mind of his face. Paul McGrillen. It was weird.
Well, I think that listeners will have experiences of park life across their local park, but of course very famous ones round the world. Central Park in
How
New
many
York.
pitches? Was it known as the 50 pitches? I was talking to
50 pitches. 50 pitches, yeah.
And the sad thing, and we know the reason for it, but going down through the years to see Motherwell playing at St Mirren, for yesteryear when you were on the supporters bus and you would drive by there, and you reckon that there was actually 50 pitches.
Correct, yeah.
And you would see a hive of activity.
Yeah.
And then gradually down through the years.
Yeah, well,
less
interestingly
less
enough, just
people.
before we came on air, I saw a photo of 50 pitches this morning.
All right.
And it was quite busy. There was quite
Aye.
a lot of games going on in that simultaneously. Obviously, that was the
So if any
purpose.
the dear people in Paisley can tell us how many pitches remain.
In 50 pitches.
Yeah, there we go.
And of
And-
course, famous ones round the world, Central Park, Hyde Park. So there's ones that people have visited that are not in their local town.
If you ever find yourself in London, do what I did as a kid, get into St James's Park, buy a loaf, crumble it all your way to the park until it is down to fine breadcrumbs, and then basically enjoy having them out in your hand, having them on your head,
The
having them on your
pigeons,
shoulders.
aye.
No, the wee, it's like the wee sparrows or wee starlings.
Aye, okay.
They'll come from anywhere. What a thrill that is. You end up
Yeah.
looking like the woman, the bag lady for Home Alone.
Yeah.
When she's got them all early. So, park life. Tell us about your
And
local park, the
just-
stuff you get up to.
Just opposite St James's Park was a very famous 60s nightclub called the Scotch of St James.
All right.
And that's where the Average White Band really kind of took off.
Right.
It was the kind of after club for Hendrix and McCartney and all of these people and that. So parks have a
Park
great
life.
story.
We'll
yeah.
take it. Remember, all the week's football. We're talking Rangers, Celtic in Europe. We're talking about the aftermath of those games. Brendan Rodgers saying he won't change his style. The flack potentially from UEFA in the back of the fireworks in the Coltman Road stand. Inverness, Caledonian Thistle seemingly heading towards administration. Simo Valakari enrolled at St Johnstone. You've got Craig Gordon back in the Scotland squad. So much happening there. Greenock Morton, we have to happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy and 50, Stuart.
Yep.
150. Absolutely brilliant at their game today. It's a big party. The fans have been urged to get there earlier. Bring your flags, bring your banners. What you loved about all this, and it's sadly a sight that is rarely seen a lot of time these days in Scottish football. We've got a pipe band.
Oh, I
you
love
can't
it.
beat the sound of a pipe band.
Love it. I was
And-
loving it.
So
Yeah.
they've got all that down there at the Greenock Morton game today. So we're asking you to pass on your birthday wishes. What we have to do, of course, and we know it's the St Mirren fans who will absolutely be all over this like a rash. And even that last phrase that I used, they'll be all over that as well.
Well, yeah.
Like another rash with Dane jokes about Greenock and Morton fans. A suitable birthday present for Greenock Morton, or a suitable gift for the Morton fans. What indeed would that be? And we're asking you, what does Greenock mean to you? Stuart, what is Greenock, the town of Greenock?
So many different things. One of which is that I enjoy going to venues like the Beacon Arts Centre right on the river there, and really, really nice little venue. But probably my favourite venue in Greenock, I've mentioned it before on the show, and that's the Pineapple Soul Club. And it's one of the top kind of regular soul clubs in Scotland. Hugely popular and a great club over many years now. So Pineapple would be up there. But the last place I saw Dyron Dahl was in the Chippy below the Viking Bar in Greenock.
Right.
He came to St Johnstone from Aberdeen, never really kicked a ball for us, and then went back to Holland. So
All right.
all the best, Dyron.
There you go, right. Lovely memories of Greenock. Greenock, and this isn't me trying to do some sort of obvious joke, but it was about the only time in my life when I suddenly felt quite trendy and fashionable.
Yeah.
And that's no jokes about what, did you have matching shoes on or something?
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha. No, I was asked by Greenock Morton today. It was tying in with the 150th celebrations. It was, when was it now? It was earlier this year. Today a Q&A in the Supporters Club. If I could MC it with Dougie Emery and George Oakley. George, of course, is now at Ayr United under Scott Brown. And George was your big dude, right? With the look of the football player right away, you know what I mean, and the absolutely pin-up partner and all the rest of it, you know. But George casually chucked in. I asked him a question about you footballers, where he's got all this trendy gear and all that, and he said that he was a veteran customer of Marks and Spencer's.
Good.
And he mentioned the label, Marks and Spencer's own label, and I realised I was wearing one of their garments while I was there, so I thought, yes, at last,
I like it.
I was there. So I felt quite trendy, wearing the same gear as a professional footballer. It was also the first place. You know how you can get into a lot of restaurants now, and what's a popular contraption in the table, maybe with a naan bread or maybe with some meats or whatever, they give you a kind of a hangman device. You know that?
Aye.
Right, that was the first time I ever tried one of them, and some dear people in Greenock will be able to remind me of the name of it. It was a Portuguese restaurant, and I was getting peri chicken, and it was served on that, and the gimmick was there was like kind of garlic, maybe a cooked garlic bulb in foil,
top, yeah.
or maybe garlic oil, so in foil, and you squeezed that at the top. It was a good
And it
mix-up,
just kind
and
of
it ran
ran, didn't
down
it? Yeah.
the chicken. Now, I don't know if the restaurant's still there, but I went to review it and it was more than decent. So many a lovely memory of Greenock, Taylor the Bank, daddy-da. Give us your own. And if you'd like to wish Greenock Morton a happy birthday, 150 years old, the celebrations are kicking off today, big style at the ground. And what do you think? Mainly St Mirren fans are the good people of Paisley. What would be a fitting birthday present for Greenock Morton's 150th? And one last thing, Stuart, goes back to Simo Valakari, if you like. Our one word topic is